What's going on, people? Georgio Savvides here, founder of the Hip Hop Orchestra, as well as the host of the Hip Hop Orchestra Presents podcast. And I got a really exciting announcement to finally make with everyone, is that we have our very first official sponsor for the podcast. Now, they are an amazing company called Eldon's Vault, who are extremely dedicated in bringing you the very best in officially licensed merchandise from pop culture. And when I mean the very best, I mean the very best. They provide things like keyrings, caps, t-shirts, to Funko Pops, to statues from all over, such as DC, Marvel, Disney, The Mandalorian, Harry Potter, music artists from all over the place, and they are ridiculously good. I've got a couple of things to show you on offer at the moment. This trust me, their stuff is amazing. So, t-shirts, like I mentioned, like the one I'm wearing right now. It's got Rocky right here, which I absolutely love. Or, like I said, also got Funko Pops as well, 3.75 inches and 10 inches. I've got a couple of 10 inches right here for you. I've got Post Malone right here, and I've also got Biggie right here, who I absolutely love. These are so sick. Eldon's Vault, trust me, they are amazing. Now, I'm going to leave the link below in the video right here, and also in the description below as well in all future videos from the podcast. But trust me, Eldon's Vault are amazing. Website is www.eldonsvault.co.uk. Get in touch with them now and start buying ASAP. But also, before I forget as well, I just want to say the biggest thank you to Eldon's Vault for sponsoring the podcast. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you. And trust me, get in touch with them right now. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And peace. What's going on, people? Welcome to a brand new episode of Hip Hop Orchestra Presents. And today we're joined by an incredible guest today, the amazing wordsmith and student of philosophy, Joshua Luke Smith. How you doing, my brother? You okay?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm very grateful to be on with you today, man. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. But how's things been okay?
Yeah, man. I'm a new father. We had a baby in the middle of lockdown,
No
so
way.
navigating that, learning everything that comes with being a dad. But yeah, man, very grateful, very grateful. Working on an album, so juggling all that stuff, man.
I can imagine. Congratulations for being a father
Thank you,
now.
bro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How old's the little one now? How old?
So she's 10 months. So we had her in June. So she's coming up to a year, right in the middle of the pandemic. But yeah, man, she's beautiful. She's amazing.
That's amazing. How are you finding being a father and, like you said, working on an album at the same time?
It's do you know what? Being a dad has come a lot more naturally than I was. That's what everyone said. Like when you become a dad, something comes out of you. Like it reveals what was in you the whole time.
Mm.
And it's true. Like, you know, I thought I'd be spiraling. I thought I'd be like clueless, but it's that like evolutionary instinct that you just adapt.
Mm.
And she's amazing. Like I love spending time with her. I'm working on this album, and she brings me inspiration. Like the thought of writing songs that I know one day she's gonna listen to.
Yeah.
It helps, man. And so the album's nearly done. The album's really so close to being finished, and I've had to like go away and like I'll spend a few days in an Airbnb and work on it because you know she's napping downstairs and I
Yeah.
can't be like spitting bars and waking her up.
I mean, how's your approach to writing changed since being a father? Like the things you write about, how you write as well, has it all changed since you become a father?
I feel like I've got even more like obsessed with it since becoming a dad.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, writing isn't it's never I've never viewed it as like a hobby. I've never
Mm.
viewed it as like, oh, this is like a side thing that I do. I viewed it as like a primary expression of my soul. And for the last 10 years, like this is how I'm gonna make the money as well.
Mm.
And so with my daughter coming along, it's like this would be a time where you might pull back and you're like, well, I can't do this anymore. So I've got to get another job or do something. Or you kind of go into fifth gear and you're like, nah, this is it, man. Like
Mm.
if this is gonna work, so it provides for her and it gives her the most present and creative father she could possibly have, then I've got to change my approach to it. I've got to be even more invested into it. And so I feel like I'm taking my music more seriously. I feel like I'm being more creative. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's amazing. How long has this album taken you to almost complete from start to finish?
Like over a year. I started it in January. I was started in Chicago last year, man.
Yeah.
That's how different the world was. I was in Chicago. I did 10 days in Chicago, and I kind of thought the album was nearly done.
Mm.
I remember sending it to my manager and being like, "Yo, I think I got the album." And then, the month continued, and obviously COVID kicked off, and I was like, no, I haven't even started this album. Like, I think
Yeah.
two of the songs that I did in that time stayed on it. And then throughout this whole year, I've just been writing and producing. And in September, we did some crowdfunding, and which was amazing. So I got like a just injection of investment into it, and it's just gone from strength to strength. And now, bro, I'm like, I'm up, like it's done. I'm now just like doing final mixes and things like that.
That's amazing. Is it all produced by
Yeah.
you as well, the whole album as well?
I've produced a lot of it. What I tend to do is get a track to like 70%. I never like finishing a track myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got to collaborate. I've got to feel like someone else with a different set of skills and expertise has put their touch to it.
Mm.
Otherwise, I'm much more critical and I doubt it a lot quicker. Like even when it comes to release, I'm like, ah, dang, it wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
So I'm working with a producer called Lightning, and she's phenomenal. And so she's put her like touches to it. And but yeah, I've written it all and I've produced a lot of it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Have you worked with her before? Or was this the first time?
Nah, this is like the first. We did a few bits before, but nothing like significant. This is the first thing. And we started these songs as like singles, and I was like, nah, this is an album, and then brought her in to executive produce it.
That's amazing. That is so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it's
And
cool, man.
yeah, and how many tracks have you do you think you've done so far? Like, and done, and then kind of whittled down to what you wanted for the album?
Yeah, so the album's gonna be 15.
Okay.
Um, and at one point the album was gonna be 22. So I was
Wow.
like, I don't, because that's like, I don't know about you, but like those were the albums that I grew up on, man.
Yeah.
Like, especially like in hip hop, you weren't getting a 10-track record. You were getting a 17, 18, 19 track record, and you would listen to those projects like back to back, and it would take hours.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
for me, I was always like, I can't make a 10-track album. Like I want to make I want to make a double album. But anyway, I really started refining the concept, like the narrative, the idea behind the music, and that started refining the songs. So there was like 6, 7 songs. I was like, these are amazing songs. I love them, but they're not as strongly tied to the concept of the album
Mm.
as the other ones. So that's kind of why they got cut along the way.
Yeah. I was going
Yeah.
to ask about the concept actually. What is the concept of your new album?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you ask good questions, bro.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
ask good
thank you, man.
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, the album's called The Void,
Yeah.
and I can give you the shallow answer, or I can give you like the deep one.
It's completely up to you. You go middle if you need
Well,
to.
yeah. So early last year, I started thinking, and I think everyone does this at some point in their life, in whatever way. I started thinking about space and
Mm,
cosmology, and I think, like, even if it's just one night you look up at the stars, there's a point for all of us on Earth. We take account of the fact that we are surrounded by this much bigger universe. And I started reading and started learning more about cosmology, and how if you were to just be planted into space right now with no kind of like sense of location, if you just were dropped into space, there would be like a one in, I think it's 500 billion trillion chances that you would be anywhere near to a planet, right? And 4% of the universe, we have a concept for. So 96% of the universe is completely unknown. So there's Earth, and then there's the solar system, then there's the Milky Way, then there's the multiverse, and then there's, like, it just keeps going on and on. And so this word, the void, is used a lot in like cosmology, and it speaks of like the uncharted space, and there's so much of the space. And there's a Roman poet from like the first few centuries Lucretius, and he, like, this ancient dude, like
Yeah.
no technology, he started writing about this concept of the void, and he literally was writing about things that we've discovered in the last few centuries about cosmology, and then various other scientists began exploring it, and they were murdered. They were killed for their views, killed by the religious folk, because they were basically saying the Earth isn't the center of the universe, right? It's not in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
the universe is massive. And I know it sounds a bit mad, but I started thinking, this is what it feels like, not just externally, but internally for me a lot of the time. Like,
Mm.
sometimes I feel like I know 4% of Josh, you know?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I feel like I actually, other people know me better than I know me. And people will
Mm.
describe me, or I'll hear someone say it, and I'm like, dang, I don't even think of myself in that way. And there's so much of my past that I
Yeah.
still don't feel like I've fully embraced and fully acknowledged and fully healed from, or even celebrated. And so the album was the journey of doing that, of like, you know, taking stock of like the vastness of what it means to be a human being and have a unique story.
That's amazing. That sounds so good. It sounds amazing. I mean,
Appreciate it, man.
where did that interest of cosmology come from? Was it through like somebody you worked with, or family, or friend? Where did that kind of interest come from?
Yeah, there was I heard this, I don't know what you want to call him, like philosopher,
Mm.
artistic, communicator, called Rob Bell, and he said he was a pastor like for like years. He doesn't
Mm.
do that anymore. And I heard him say, I was in LA in January, and I went to an event that he did, and he said, he says, that which is hidden can never be healed,
Mm.
and until we face the void within ourselves, we can't create anything new.
Mm.
Not that you can't like do stuff, but actually, if you're always running from something, if you're always hiding, if you're always like, controlling your environment in fear of being exposed, shame, then you can't actually put something of like true originality into the world, because so much of you is hidden. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, the void.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And I think I just like Googled the void, and I was like, wow, the void is like a cosmological term. And
Yeah.
I want to dig into this, man. Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause I know that you started at a young age to make sense of the world in terms of writing. I
Mm,
mean,
mm.
when did it all kind of start for you? Like going back to the beginning of when you started writing, where did that kind of interest come from in terms of wanting to make sense of the world and so forth?
I wrote a poem when I was 9 called
Wow.
The Loyal Friend," and it was all about abandonment.
Yeah.
And my parents like read. I brought it home from school, and they're like, "What is this poem about?" And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Like, it wasn't even about like a certain person. It's all about his friend that left his. It was like basic, but it's about his friend that left his other friend.
Yeah.
And when I think back to that, I don't remember writing it, but I think back of like, I think I spent a lot of time just connecting with the human experience. Like, I would watch, I remember like I'd be in a cafe with like my mom, and I'd see like an old man sat out at his own at a table, having his scampi and chips,
Yeah.
just sat there on his own, and my heart would like break for him. And I just, words would start coming to kind of like describe what he might have experienced, or like, I wonder what his day has been like. And I just didn't stop writing. And then my sister bought me The Score by the Fugees,
Mm.
and that was my like introduction into the hip hop storytelling and like reflective conscious artistry. And it just like, dude, I was obsessed. I was like, wow. Like,
Yeah.
and from then I sort of discovered hip hop as a means of like articulating some of this stuff. And I realized that hip hop was almost similar to the folk music that I grew up
Mm.
with, that my dad played. It was storytellers and people speaking of a certain struggle, and there was a sonic to it that had aggression, but it also had like contemplation. And I was like a kid in a candy shop, so I
Ye-
just started eating and I started writing, and I've never stopped. Yeah.
No, because I've heard your stuff. It's incredible. Honestly, it's amazing,
Bro.
amazing. And I'm very much like you, where I've always just loved stories, storytelling
Mm,
stories, and how
mm,
people could just make your imagination just flow with their words.
mm.
I've loved that. And like you said,
Yeah.
with the score from Fuji's, is still to this day one of my favorite albums as well. I love the
Right.
Fuji's. And I
Yes.
know that your parents were missionaries. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know you're born in London, but then moved
Mm.
to Pakistan as well. Is that correct?
That's it, man. You
Yeah,
know your stuff.
I do. I do my
Yeah.
research, man.
Yeah.
Whether which one was it? Was it, were they building a school? Was it a hospital?
They were
Or
building a hospital. Yeah, they were
hmm,
building a hospital so that people who are basic, like, would be going blind because without a cataract surgery, and so
Cataracts, yeah.
they were able to do that. And so, I mean, yeah, I was out there for the first, chunk of my childhood. I didn't know anything different. That was just life.
Mm. And kind of, how long were you there in Pakistan for? Was it a few years or a
About
few months?
about
About
no, it was about 8 years, man. It was
8 years.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. And was it just the one hospital? Or not? I say just the one, but was it the one hospital that they built? Or did they build several
Yeah,
different ones?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was one right up in the north. I mean, I think my dad worked in a few different places beforehand, but it was the one
Yeah.
hospital right in the north, near Afghanistan, where they spend most of the time.
That is
Yeah,
amazing. To build a hospital, that is
yeah,
incredible, man. Like,
yeah. It's
but what?
amazing, man.
Yeah, like so inspirational, man. What was it like for you to witness your father building a hospital for people to get their vision back? It must
Mm.
have been such a surreal feeling to witness that whole thing.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I grew up with so much admiration for my father, just a man who throughout his whole life genuinely cared,
Yeah.
like was comfortable like giving up his, opportunities to earn money and privilege and stuff to like just stand alongside people who had less and love them and serve them and help them, but never with like a mentality of like I'm the savior, just the mentality of like you're worth this, like you are a human being, you have innate dignity and value, and that spoke to me my whole life, a
Mm,
hundred percent. Yeah.
definitely. And I'll also say actually, if that changed your kind of outlook on life in terms of how you approach people and so forth, do you feel like
Yeah,
it kind of
definitely.
yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think we grew up with these stories about hero and enemy stories, hero and villain stories.
uh-huh.
You have Mufasa and you have Scar, you have, like Darth
Yeah,
Vader and the Emperor, you have all these like light and dark, good and bad stories. And people grow up with that and they put it on other people. Like that person is bad, that
mm,
person is good, and
yeah,
my upbringing, like I didn't have a chance to do that because we were with people that didn't look like us, and we were with people that other people would say were the bad guys,
yeah,
and that wasn't an option in my family. It was like, no, everyone's worthy of love, everyone's worthy of dignity, everyone's worthy of your time. And it's something that stuck with me. I'm not always the best at it, like I'm not always, there's always more compassion and love that we can harness, but it's always been there in me of like, this person that I'm in front of right now is worth my time, worth my patience, worth my kindness. Yeah.
for sure. And
Yeah.
did they kind of help you with your storytelling as well in terms of writing it down in either poetry form or music form? Did it
Mhm.
help you in that way as well? Do you feel?
Definitely, like
Yeah.
definitely. Like in Pakistan, we'd go for these crazy long drives because there was nowhere like near where we lived. So it'd be like 9 hours to get to a big city.
Wow.
And we'd just sit in the back of the car. My dad would just play like this like folk music, singer songwriter, rock and roll. Tracy Chapman, Genesis, Tom Petty,
Mm,
and they were all storytellers, like old people telling stories. Paul Simon, Cat Stevens, like. And I grew up around like storytelling, and I just felt like that's how we like pass on not just like the narrative but the culture, like what
mm,
people believe, what they thought, how they experienced the world. And I think I've just always done that because of that environment of growing up.
yeah, for sure. And have you been back since actually?
Nah,
You haven't
nah,
been.
I haven't
Would
been
you?
back. I'd love to. I want to take my wife and my daughter there someday.
Yeah, that'd be incredible, man. Like,
Yeah,
honestly,
definitely.
incredible. And
Yeah.
have you been able to get any kind of updates of the hospital since you've been back?
Yeah, man, it's
Yeah.
it's 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 been going well. Yeah, it's been going strong. I
Mm.
mean, I'm not gonna lie, like there's been some difficult stuff. There's been attacks on it, and there's been like it's in a hot spot, where there's a lot of like tension, you
Mm.
know, as you can imagine in that part of the world at times. But yeah, it's still there to this day.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah, it's cool,
And
man.
it's so cool. And I know that also you had a stint in Canada too.
Mhm.
Was that from Pakistan, or did you come to London and then back
No,
to
I
Canada?
came back to London and
Yeah.
then came back. Spent a lot of time in Yorkshire, and then I went to Canada, like just on my gap year. But I actually ended up meeting this beautiful girl from Toronto out there, who's now my wife.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and I haven't actually said this publicly anywhere, but uh, we're gonna move back there this year. So we're actually gonna be moving to Toronto
Oh
towards
really?
the end of this year. Yeah, just spend some time over there, man. Like has meant that we haven't been out, being near the family, and we haven't met our daughter, and so we're like, yo, let's just go and spend some time there. And enjoy life on that side of the ocean for a little bit, you know.
Oh, congratulations when you do go out there. Congratulations.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Anytime, bro. And what can I say? I was going to say I lost my train of thought there. I've forgotten it. But yeah, I was actually going to ask actually, how has this past sort of year or so been for you? Have you been coping okay? You and the family as well? You
Yeah,
been
yeah.
okay?
We've been blessed, man. Like it's funny. Yeah, I'm very grateful. Like this year has been absolutely devastating for so many people, and I'm not going to say it hasn't been hard. You know, a
Uh,
lot of my family have never met my daughter. My wife's family haven't met her. That's been tough. But I was meant to be on tour like for the last 3 months of my wife's pregnancy. It's meant that I could be at home. I could like just spend time slow, learning to be a dad,
yeah.
cooking food, starting new hobbies, working on the album. I'm writing a book. You know, I can just like it's just been a good pace. I'm
Yeah.
ready for it to pick up, man. I can't wait to play some shows, play some festivals, go on tour. But
Yeah.
it's almost made even more sweeter because of the year that we had, you know.
Of course. I mean, talk about tours as well. You've done, I know that was you've done, I think, like your TED talk, which we'll get to in a minute, actually. But one thing you've done was the Soulfire Sounds, wasn't it? You mentioned you've
Mm,
done
mm.
over 60 of them. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so I did 30 in one run throughout the states. I did
Wow.
like New York all the way down the East Coast and all the way up the West Coast. That was like back to back 30 shows. And then I've done Europe and Scandinavia and all over like England as well. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
did, did-
Sofa's dope.
that is
Sofa's
they're
amazing.
amazing. That they're so dope. And do you have any kind of personal favorite ones that you've done so far over the past sort of few years or so?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So there was a show that we did in San Francisco, and it was at someone's house. And there was this dude who performed before me called Royce Lovett. Bro, you should check him out,
I
MC.
know, Royce. Yeah.
Oh, you know Royce?
I
Okay,
know
yeah.
he's
And I was
stuff.
just,
Yeah.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, this guy's amazing. And then we ended up like giving him a lift back to like across the bridge to Oakland. And then out of that, we just stayed in touch and became friends. And I know we're going to collaborate on something at some point. So that was a real special one. But there's been loads, man. Like Brooklyn, when I played Brooklyn, that was amazing because of the hip hop, you know, like
Yeah.
this is where hip hop came from, you know.
Of
Like
course.
I'm in the city of its roots, and I just had to like pay homage to that. And then we played a show in Philadelphia, and I got to say like, you know, this is where some of my favorite hip hop comes from, you know, Black Thought, the
Yeah.
Roots. Like I love doing those shows. Yeah,
Of
man.
course, man. Talk about those sort of American MCs and who kind of inspired you growing up? You mentioned Fugees earlier as well. Who kind of
Yeah.
inspired you growing up and even to this day as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like the cliche white guy, but you know, Eminem was huge for me. Like,
Yeah.
my, it was again my sister. My sister got me. No, she bought Stan
Yeah.
on cassette, but
Wow.
then my mom banned it, and she was like, "You can't have that," you know, because like it's literally a song about him murdering
Yeah.
himself and his wife, and like she's pregnant, and my mom heard it. She's like, "No, you got to take that back."
Mm.
So she had the cassette for Stan on the side of the kitchen, like ready to take back to HMV. But before she did, I snuck it into the tape deck and listened to it, and I was like, "Oh my
God.
days!" I
Yeah.
think that was the Marshall Mathers LP, and
Yeah.
listened to the Slim Shady LP, and you know, Eminem was just a huge inspiration. And yeah, like I got Illmatic fairly early on, you know, and again like introduced to Nas and like again storytelling, you know, undeniable flow. And then on the UK side of things, it was Mike Skinner in the Streets. It was Kano. It was Skinny Man. You know, it was MCs that I just felt like could take me somewhere lyrically. Lauryn Hill was always, you know, Lauryn Hill's flow, I think to this day is just undeniable and, you know, just phenomenal. Talib Kweli, Common, you know, writers again that like I'm this white kid in England, but they're telling me a story, one that I don't know, one that I can't relate to, one that I haven't experienced, but almost like watching an incredible film, one that I'm like swept up by, and is helping me. This is the thing about hip hop for me is you don't have to live the same story as the person that you're hearing. Like you don't have to have grown up in the same area or experienced the same things. But hearing someone tell their story without shame, like without holding back anything, empowers you to look at your own story and embrace it and start bringing out the poetic detail of it, you know. And
Yeah.
so those guys did that for me like massively. um Yeah, and a lot of people I listened then are still the people that I listen to now.
Yeah,
Obviously there's a whole new generation of artists.
yeah,
Um, my favorite, if I can, if that's the right word to use, my like the artist that I am enamored by at the moment is Little Sims.
mm,
Um, you know, UK's very own. I just think she is she's a renaissance artist. She speaks to a time of like art being uncompromised and yeah, like of such detail and poignancy. I just adore what she puts out. Odyssey, do you know Odyssey?
I do know to see it.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
Odyssey is probably one of my all-time favorite MCs. um yeah, man, like I can't wait for this new J. Cole record that's dropping
I
next week.
can't wait either. Yeah, so
I'm sure you heard about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't wait for that either, man. Would you say that
Yeah.
he's one of your say top 10 MCs? You
Oh
reckon?
yeah,
Yeah,
oh
easy.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
The good news is you came a long way. The bad news
yeah,
is you went the wrong way. Yeah.
yeah. Did you watch his documentary that he brought out a little while ago? Actually, can't remember what it was called, but
The Forest Hills one.
I
The
think it was
the
that one or something else. Actually, it was amazing. I think it was incredible though. Was it the Fox
oh
Hills Drive
yeah.
one? But yeah, amazing documentary, like showing like behind the scenes stuff and
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that. Yeah,
yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah,
Phenomenal.
phenomenal. But I just can't wait for this album to come out though.
Bro,
I
and
can't wait.
it's from what I hear from his team, it sounds like it's on point. It sounds like it's what
Really?
will. Yeah, I think one of the Dreamville artists was like, "Is this is the best Cole record?" I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh my days."
Yeah. But what do you think his best album has been to date so far? Let's talk about that kind of thing. What do you think? Is it Forest Hill
I,
Drive? Is going straight?
for me, it probably would be. Yeah, for me, it's Forest Hills Drive. Like
Yeah.
Love Yours.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Forest Hills Drive is his most, and this is a weird word to use, but almost his most mature.
Mm.
It's not, it's reflective, but it's still got ego and ambition and aggression in it.
Yeah.
Um, but I do feel like it's the most kind of measured and thought through, and like it covers the most amount of terrain. Like it's
Yeah.
got Puppy Love on it, and like it's got all these. Is that right? I think it's
Y-
Puppy Love. Like
Puppy
all
Love, yeah.
yeah, all these like different like elements of his life,
Yeah.
but told so beautifully. And then it's got some turn up kind of tracks as well.
Yeah.
Like it's just a phenomenal record. But I mean,
Definitely.
all of his like his first album, like that Lost Ones. Do you remember that track?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's never dropped the ball in my opinion. I don't think he's put out like For Your Eyes Only was maybe like, I don't know, but maybe more of his like more experimental. I think like production wise it felt a bit more lucid, a bit more like experimental, but still just
Yeah.
killed it.
That
Like
100%. I mean,
not flop.
but where do you think hip hop is going in terms of its sound and kind of artistry? Because obviously it's changed so much compared to what it
Hmm.
used to be like. In
Hmm.
your kind of eyes, where do you think it's kind of heading? What kind of route?
Do you know what? The piece that I've made with hip hop is it's never going in one place,
Yeah.
It's like there's this ocean that it was birthed from, like from the Boogie Down Bronx,
Yeah.
and then it's turned into all these like rivers and streams.
Yeah.
So when we talk about hip hop, like, and I say I love the state of hip hop
Mm.
right now because of the artists I've just listed.
Yeah.
Like I'm an MC. I'm an artist at the same time as Little Sims and Odyssey and Kendrick and Lil Kana and Koji Radical and like there, oh man, like there's unbelievable artists out right now, like
Yeah.
unbelievable. Someone else might then start talking about a whole bunch of artists that I don't even know about. I'm like, I don't know. And it's being someone who's into hip hop, I realized isn't someone who knows everything that's going
Mm.
on. Like that doesn't make you, a valid hip hop listener.
Yeah.
It's someone who's like who honors the roots of it, who understands the culture, and someone who can appreciate music that's coming out here and now.
Yeah.
And it might only be like 5% like of like one niche of the scene, because if you can have a Mac Miller alive and making records at the same time that mumble rap is at its like most prominent, and they're both hip hop,
Yeah.
When it's like, all right, this comes from the same ocean, but this is like a diverse set of streams.
It really is. It's so true. And you've had the chance also to like, live in different countries, like you mentioned earlier. Have you lived in America as well? You got a, like a slight twang to your accent. Have you lived in
Yeah,
America too?
I came back from Pakistan with a thick American accent
Oh,
because I grew
really?
up in an American community. So I've
Okay.
always had like a weird accent. But
It's not weird
yeah,
at all.
thank you, bro. I spent a lot of time in America. Like, we're over there maybe 3 times a year. Chicago, Nashville, LA. Yeah, just music and all that kind of stuff.
That's amazing, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool,
Um,
man.
but let's talk about your TED talk that you done, which, by the way, was
Oh yeah.
amazing as well. How did that
Oh,
come?
thanks, bro.
Anytime, bro. Like,
That
how
was
did that
that
come
was
about? Yeah,
the first tour that I ever did. It was called Becoming Human. I did a show in Bristol, and there was a TED like talk
yeah,
curator there.
mm,
So after the show, he was like, "Hey, do you ever talk? Like, do you ever
yeah,
just talk?" And I was like, yeah, like as well as music. And he was like, you should submit like a proposal, do a TED talk. And so it started as like a 1 minute video that I had to send. That was like, this is what my talk would be about.
yeah.
And then it went on, and TED was like, it was serious, man. Like, you have to like nail it. And it was cool. It was amazing. Yeah, real on it, like a bucket list moment to do a TED talk.
Oh my God, same with me. I've done the same thing as you. I've done a TED talk too. It's
Nice.
yeah, it's one of the best
What did you
things ever.
speak on?
So I've obviously grown up being dyspraxic, so I've struggled in
Right.
life basically. But yeah,
Right.
music has been my kind of savior. So
Mhm.
I use that as my kind of talk in terms of
Nice.
using disabilities within music and so forth, and get some of the best composers have had some kind of
Wow.
disability, yet they've also
Wow.
come to create some of the best pieces that we don't know about or have, or
Wow.
we do know about,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and they performed there with the orchestra. But for those that might not know about your talk,
Wow.
about what was your talk on?
Well, I called it the world within,
Yeah,
and why if we want to deal with the heart of a matter, we have to heal matters of the heart.
mm,
So, and I actually talked a lot about Pakistan, and I talked about how, my parents went out there to do something that was to bring an external change, but along the way realize that all external change has its sustainability in internal change. So that's still actually a lot of what the album is about, is like facing the world within.
yeah,
And so I kind of infused it with poetry and stories and stuff, yeah.
yeah. I
But mate,
love it.
what's your talk called?
It's called Overture to Classical Music. No, Overture to Hip Hop.
Okay.
Sorry, so I can leave the link
Oh,
after that. Actually, yeah,
I want to hear it, bro. I really
yeah.
want to hear
Thank
it.
you, bro. I'll send it over to you after for sure. But your work, oh, yeah, bro, honestly, it's amazing. And you got a
Thank
big
you,
fan
bro.
of me, bro. So keep up the amazing work.
Oh, bro, I always want to know, where did you hear it? Like, I'm always intrigued of where people like find the music.
Yeah, so I also know Jessica Lamb really well,
Oh yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
nice, nice, nice,
and
nice.
she's one introduced me to you. Checked it all
Oh,
out.
sweet. That's
Incredible,
cool.
man.
Oh,
And
thank you, bro. I
anytime,
appreciate it,
bro.
man.
Honestly, I love to like give thanks and like let people know that when they're doing amazing work, and the work that you do
Mhm.
is incredible. And I don't
Thank
say
you,
that
bro.
lightly either, bro. So I keep up the
Thank you,
amazing
bro.
work.
Thank you, bro.
Anytime,
Thank you,
bro.
bro.
Anytime, bro. You deserve it. But when's the album coming out, though? You mentioned
Oh,
obviously the
mate, this is the exclusive. I don't know when this is gonna
album.
drop, but the album is gonna come out on the 25th of June.
Hmm.
And yeah, we got another couple singles dropping before then, but 25th of June is coming out.
Brilliant.
And yeah, dude, I can't wait. I
I
can't wait.
can't wait either.
I'm gonna link you up. I'll send you a link, bro. I'll send you a
Oh,
link when
bro,
it's all
thank you.
mixed.
Thank you, bro.
No, I want to know what you think as a hip
Yeah,
hop fan, man. I want
no,
to know what you think.
definitely. Because it's going to be a little while since the episode comes out, but it might come
Yeah,
out at the same sort of time-ish, maybe
oh,
slightly after
perfect,
or just before,
perfect.
but
Yeah, yeah,
we'll
all
see,
good,
bro. But it'd be
all
perfect.
good, all
But
good.
that's like the perfect way to end the podcast, though, bro.
Yeah,
But
man. Oh
honestly,
man,
Josh,
I've loved it. You
thank
ask
you.
great
Same here.
questions.
Thank you, man.
Like it's funny. You do a lot like podcasts and interviews, and you'll be surprised, man. Like sometimes people just don't ask good questions, and I've loved this, bro. So appreciate you having me
Oh,
on, man.
that really means a lot to me. Thank you, bro. You've been a fantastic guest as well. I learned so much from you, so thank you.
Dope, dope, dope.
Thank
Where
you.
are you based? Are you in London as well?
London as well, yeah.
You're in London, yeah, cool,
Which
nice.
part of London are you based in?
Oh, sorry, no, I was thinking I'm from London. I'm actually in Bath now,
Oh, you're in Bath now.
Southwest. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, 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 yeah.
okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
but I'm in London a lot. I'm in London a lot. Yeah,
Nice. We'll definitely link up, see when you come down to London again.
definitely, definitely.
But how can people
Sweet,
find
bro.
you online now before we go as well?
Just Joshua Luke Smith everywhere. So like Instagram's the main spot at Joshua Luke Smith, and then obviously YouTube and Spotify and everything. Just throw that in
Lovely.
there. Yeah, man.
Lovely. Thank you so much, brother, for your time, man. I really loved it. Thank you.
Pleasure, bro. Speak
Thank you.
soon, my man.
You too, man. Take care,
Cheers.
everyone.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.